I argued that many aspects of our reality, such as money, nation states, and even time, are human constructs that should not define our experience. By becoming aware of these constructs and their limitations, we as human body minds can unlock our true potential and creativity, leading to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. But this process involves mindful awareness of experience and also self-awareness practices, awareness of awareness that connect us with our true self beyond material conditioning. And in both these books, I argued that by understanding and harnessing the power of consciousness, we can become active participants in the creation of our reality. That this perspective also aligns with emerging scientific views that recognize the influence of the observer in quantum mechanics and the interconnectedness of mind and matter. And I also actually offered these ideas as aligning with quantum mechanics. So my idea of the universe being a byproduct of consciousness aligns with and differs from quantum mechanics in several ways. It aligns, but it also differs. So the alignment is that, number one, interconnectedness. My view emphasizes the interconnected nature of consciousness and reality, which aligns with quantum entanglement in quantum mechanics. Both perspectives challenge the notion of local realism and isolated physical objects. Then there's wave-particle duality. I describe thoughts as confluences of possibilities emerging into physical reality, which parallels the wave-particle duality in quantum mechanics. And both these views suggest a fundamental uncertainty and probabilistic nature of reality. I also argue that consciousness shapes reality and that this resonates with the observer effect in quantum mechanics, where measurement influences the outcome of experiments. I argue that both quantum mechanics and my perspective challenge the classical view of localized objects and events, suggesting a more interconnected and non-local reality. Of course, there are differences with the scientific mainstream opinion, which suggests that quantum mechanics is a well-established scientific theory with mathematical formulations and experimental evidence, but my ideas are more philosophical and lack rigorous scientific proof. And therefore, I've now, in the next book, Unveiling the Matrix, actually teamed up with a cognitive scientist who works with mathematician Chetan Prakash and also with quantum physicists to actually suggest that space-time itself is a construct based on human perceptual experiences. And I have had to, of course, address the skepticism in mainstream scientists' views that argue with my scientific paradigm, which of course is not mine, but was that of the pioneers, including Schrödinger and Max Planck and Werner Heisenberg, etc. I think that the materialistic worldview that dominates mainstream science right now is basically a fallacy. And I argue that understanding the physical side of a phenomenon does not explain the phenomenon itself. I believe that consciousness cannot be understood through materialistic science alone, and I call for a more holistic approach that includes subjective experiences. I have always promoted an interdisciplinary research process where the gap between science and spirituality can be bridged. The Chopra Foundation co-sponsors university-level research into the effects of meditation on biological processes like telomerase levels, which are linked to aging. And I collaborate with the respected institutions and scientists to provide empirical support for these ideas. And as a result of this, I have been able to address at least some of the criticisms from scientists and skeptics who accuse me of pseudoscience by arguing that my views are often misunderstood or misrepresented, that many of the concepts I discuss, such as the role of consciousness in shaping reality, are also explored by serious scientists and philosophers. I've mentioned Heisenberg, Schrödinger, Max Planck, and others. And then I've offered $1 million challenge, which I hope aims to shift the scientific community's focus on consciousness by highlighting the limitations of the current scientific approaches. And I advocate for a more holistic exploration of consciousness. So, of course, no one has yet responded to this $1 million prize challenge, but I'm now re-engaging public engagement and awareness and challenging both the public and the scientific community to raise awareness about the complexities of consciousness research. By offering this very substantial monetary reward, $1 million, I want to draw attention to the issue and stimulate public interest and debate. And I hope that this challenge will be accepted and we can engage in a new dialogue, which maybe will help shift the scientific community's focus on what is called fundamental reality. Okay, so much for that. Now, what about conscious agents? What is a conscious agent? A conscious agent is a mediator between consciousness and the appearance of the human universe. Now, if you were not a scientist, a cognitive scientist, you might use the word soul. So in the matrix of souls, with their belief systems, perceptual interpretations, cognitive processes, experiences, decision-making, and motor activity, we are projecting the human universe. And that's all we can know, the human universe. Okay, animals and rocks and plants and microbes and bacteria and stars and galaxies, the sun, moon, and sky, space, time, and causality are all aspects of the human universe. Also, human beings as biological organisms are aspects of the ecosystem of projected reality from the matrix. This is what we'll be exploring in the next book, Unveiling the Matrix, How Conscious Agents Project the Human Universe. And while I will be arguing from the spiritual side, I think you will find great support from theorists like Don Hoffman, who works with cognitive scientists, is himself a cognitive scientist, and has questioned, how evolution hides the truth from us, how classical evolutionary biology hides the truth from us, and how we can actually find the truth by introducing the new science, which suggests that we are all part of a matrix of conscious agents that exist beyond space and time, projecting the experience of space time and causality. This, by the way, is called Maya in the Eastern traditions. And the play of consciousness is called Leela. Leela is the play, Maya is the movie that you're projecting. And the movie contains you as a biological character. So, you and all the other characters, including those characters we call animals, and those entities we call rocks and plants and planets and stars, are all projected by the divine consciousness that is the real you. So I know I've repeated myself a few times, but so it goes. Digital Dharma is out, and you can engage with my AI twin. Not I was going to say biological twin, no, with my AI twin by going to digitaldeepak.ai. We can have this conversation. And so, with these new technologies, AI, VR, virtual reality, XR, extended reality, and then augmented reality, immersive experiences, we're actually expanding the dreamscape that we have already created. Let me know if you find this interesting or useful. And thanks for indulging me as usual.